Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jeevanam Kavibhireeditam Kalmashapaham Shravanamangalam Srimadaatatam Bhuvi Grinanti Ye Bhurida Jana. Sri Sri Ramakrishna Kathamrita, the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, 1882 March, 1882 March, Sri Ramakrishna in Dakshineshwar. After several kinds of discussion, Shobha Bhanga Hoilo, Bhaktara Edik Vedike Paichari Kuritechen, Master of Panchavati Ityadi Sthane Bedaitechen, Bela Andaj Pasta. So there were so many kinds of discussions and so many things, and Narendra had come, and so many interesting spiritual topics were being discussed. So at the end of the discussion, Shobha Bhanga Hoilo, that means the discussions came to an end, as it were, and all the devotees came out of Sri Ramakrishna's room and they're moving around. M, the recorder of the Gospel, Master, he was also moving around near the Panchavati. Panchavati is the place, those of you who have seen, Dakshineshwar know, is one of the holiest of places where Sri Ramakrishna performed so many different kinds of sadhana, had such extraordinary visions, and he trained his disciples, the future sannyasins, including Narendra. And after some time, M came back. In the original Bengali Kathamrita, Master means M, Mahendranath Gupta, the recorder of the Gospel. And Sri Ramakrishna is referred to as Thakur. In the English version, Sri Ramakrishna is referred to as the Master, and Mahendranath Gupta is referred to as M. We should remember this. Master Panchavati Ityadi Sthane Bedaitechen Bela Andaj Panchta. It's around 5 o'clock in the evening, and M is also moving around in various places near the Panchavati. কিয়ৎক্ষণ পরে তিনি শ্রী রামকৃষ্ণের ঘরের দিকে আসিয়া দেখিলেন ঘরের উত্তর দিকে ছোট বারান্দায় মধ্যে অদ্ভুত ব্যাপার হইতেছে. After some time he came back to the room of Sri Ramakrishna, and he saw an extraordinarily marvelous thing happening in the northern side of Sri Ramakrishna's room in the veranda. Sri Ramakrishna, the M was wonderstruck at this. What is happening? He is describing this. Sri Ramakrishna স্থির হইয়া দাঁড়াইয়া রহিয়াছেন, নরেন্দ্র গান করিতেছেন, 2-4 জন ভক্ত দাঁড়াইয়া আছেন। মাস্টার আসিয়া গান শুনিলেন, গান শুনিয়া আকৃষ্ট হইয়া রইলেন. He saw Sri Ramakrishna standing still. The posture with usually like this, or whatever posture, is standing still, completely motionless, absorbed in samadhi, as it usually used to happen to him. And Narendra was singing a song. That is the most important item here, the event. And hardly there were half a dozen devotees, 3-4 devotees only. And M was so charmed by Narendra's music, he also sat there. Then look at the description. ঠাকুরের গান ছাড়া এমন মধুর গান তিনি কখনো কোথাও শোনেন নাই. M is saying, except Sri Ramakrishna's singing, M has not heard such a melodious, sweet voice of anybody singing a devotional song. They say Veena Ninandita Kantha, as if it will put to shame even the Veena, great musical instruments, and so on. Narendra had such a charming, sweet voice, and he used to pour his heart out in such extraordinary devotion when he sang. And Sri Ramakrishna used to say, when Narendra sings, that supreme being which is within this body, showing his own body, raises its hood like a snake and remains still. This is exactly what is happening. Sri Ramakrishna is absorbed in samadhi, standing still, and Narendra is singing a song. All these scenes have been captured by M so that ordinary jivas, beings like us, meditating, thinking, contemplating any of these scenes, will be able to attain the supreme illumination. These are themes for contemplation. This is how the Avatara comes. The Avatara comes to create hundreds of thousands of themes for meditation, by contemplating of which jivas, ordinary people, can get liberated. In the Bhagavatam, there is a discussion about the purpose of the Avatara. So many different versions of the purpose are mentioned. As you know, the Bhagavan himself says in the Gita, Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chadushkridam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I come for dharma samsthapana. Here there is a very interesting discussion in the Bhagavatam. The moment Sri Krishna left his mortal coil, Sri Krishna's holy feet, when they ceased to touch this earth, Papa Purusha, Kali Purusha entered. That's what is mentioned. Kali could not enter this earth as long as Sri Krishna was in the mortal coil touching this earth. The moment Sri Krishna's mortal coil left this earth, Kali Purusha, Papa Purusha entered. What kind of dharma samsthapana is this? Yes, you can see now, ghor adharma. So much of immorality and dishonesty and corruption, erosion of values, untruthfulness, selfishness to the core. All of these are now on the increase in the Kali Yuga. Is this the kind of dharma samsthapana that Sri Ramakrishna did, Sri Krishna did? Then what is the meaning of dharma samsthapana? Swami Tapasyanandaji, who was the revered vice president, very sacred memory we have of him, he used to explain to us that dharma samsthapana here does not mean that all the people on the earth will become dharmic and once again the Satya Yuga will come back. No. It means samsthapana, establishing dharma, faith of humanity in the eternal, supreme, unchanging values in life. There is an unchanging essence, infinite and absolute, immortal, which is called God, or Brahman, infinite, Allah, Christ, whatever, Father in heaven. So that infinite reality, absolute reality, ultimately is the goal to be attained by all living beings. In the midst of all that is continuously changing, there is an unchanging essence, there is an unchanging reality. There's a truth beyond all time, space, and causation. This truth, this reality, this infinite and the absolute has to be realized as one's own real nature of the self. This is what is called the Brahma Atma Aikya, the non-difference or the identity of Brahman and the Atman, which Vedanta talks about, or the realization, Sakshatkara, direct perception of God, as the Bhakti schools will say. Purusha Prakriti Viveka, Kaivalya Prapti, the attainment of aloneness, completely detaching from nature, Prakriti is what the yogis will say, or Virat Upasana, worshipping the same infinite reality present everywhere through loving service, unselfish and pure, by which your entire inner self of relativity is emptied. The Karma Yogis will say, whatever be the language you use, the reality that is manifesting as the infinite and the absolute, as this world, permeating and interpenetrating the whole world, has to be realized as your own self when you are alive. This is the Dharma of man. This is the ultimate goal of mankind. And human beings, when they lose faith in this, completely lost in the outer world of relativity, of eating and drinking and sleeping and sense enjoyments and socializing now, social media, getting involved in 100,000 people, simply becoming extroverts, bahirmukhi, and the world becomes a reality and God becomes an unreal imagination. When this kind of adharma enters into man's heart, the Supreme Being incarnates, manifests as a human being, as an Avatara, to restore in man the faith in God, Supreme Reality, the possibility of realization of the Supreme Reality. That is possible. God is the four sutras, aphorism, Chatursutri, as in the Brahma Sutra of Ramakrishna. God is first sutra. God can be seen and realized, second sutra. A realization of God in this very life is the ultimate goal of human life, third sutra. And a person is born in vain who, without having realized God in his life, leaves this body, has lived in vain. Mahati vinashti, as Kenopanishad says. Iha cheda vedi tatha satyamasti na chediha vedin mahati vinashti. If you can realize God in this very life, or realize the Atman or Brahman in this very life, then great will be your life. Atha satyamasti, the truth is revealed to you and your life becomes blessed. Kritagritartha. Life becomes fulfilled and blessed. Nachediha vedin mahati vanashtihi. If you pass from this world without realizing the Supreme Being, great indeed is your loss. What is that loss? Again and again and again, you go through the cycle of birth and death. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam, punarapi janani jathare shayanam, yah samsare khaludustare kripaya pare pahi murare bhaja govindam govindam bhaja mudhamate samprapte sannihite kale nahi nahi rakshati dukrin karane. Such a mellifluous, simple poem, the hymn or a song or a stotra composed by Shankara. You are born and then you go through life and you die. Again you are born, you go. Life after life, you go through sense enjoyments, eating and drinking and sleeping, but you miss the goal. So Avatara comes and awakens the consciousness of mankind. Swami Shivanandaji Mahapurush Maharaj said, this time Sri Ramakrishna has awakened the Kula Kundalini. Swamiji also said this. The Kula Kundalini of the entire cosmos, the cosmic Kundalini of the whole consciousness of humanity, and therefore the individual Kundalinis of various jivas, beings like us, will very quickly get awakened. That is the challenge. And that is the purpose of human life. And this is Dharma Samsthapana. Awakening man's consciousness to the highest reality, the possibility of realizing it in this very life, and giving him a great hope and conviction that it is possible and it has to be done when you are alive. Samsthavana, establishing this faith, conviction, possibility, and showing through his own life and action that God can be realized and the reality of the Supreme Being or God or Brahman in the midst of this world of change is established. This is the Dharma. The Dharma of man is to realize God. That is your Swadharma. That is your birthright. You are that infinite self. Tat Tvamasi, the Mahavakya. You are that infinite reality. Realize it. Think about it. Shrotavyo mantavyo nididhyasatavyaha. This has to be thought about, this has to be heard about, listened with great attention. This has to be contemplated, and this has to be deeply absorbed in your own consciousness. So this is not a story, this is not imagination, this is not mythology, this is not theology, this is not philosophy, this is not even religion. This is the fundamental dharma, the nature of yourself. So this is Dharma Samsthapana. Now, God incarnates as an Avatara for this Dharma Samsthapana. Among the purposes mentioned, Kunti Devi, the great Jnani in Mahabharata, the mother of the Pandavas, mentions one interesting and extraordinarily revealing purpose of the Avatara. She says, why is that an Avatara comes to this world? Avatara comes to the world to create hundreds of thousands of themes for meditation and contemplation by a human being. Your mind becomes restless, you can't concentrate on the form of God. So the Avatara gives you a wonderful method. Now the method in the modern times is not even still pictures, a video. Everywhere the mobile phones, people click videos everywhere. That is the present age. That is the Avatara's doing. Avatara creates hundreds of thousands of themes as if in a video which has been captured for our purpose, for our understanding and elevation by this mastermind M, Mahendranath Gupta, so that we can keep any of these scenes for our meditation and get liberated. So the Avatara comes to create hundreds of thousands of themes for meditation. And by meditating on any one of them, a human being can easily get liberated. This is the wonderful purpose of the coming of the Avatara. M has captured so many such themes. You have in the Bhagavata so many themes of Sri Krishna. Krishna as a Balagopala, as a little child, playing, and with so many pranks of Krishna are mentioned. He's stealing butter and playing with the children. Then he grows up and becomes Gopi Krishna, Gopi Vallabha Krishna. The gopis are the jivas and Krishna is Parabrahman. The play of the Lord with the jivas, that is the meaning of the Rasa Krida. Hundreds of thousands of jivas are having a divine sport with the Supreme Being called the Paramatman. And the Paramatman is portrayed as a Purusha, as a male person, and the jivas are portrayed as Prakriti or female. Because all of us are part of Prakriti, and Prakriti is usually considered as female. There is an interesting story in the life of Mirabai. Mirabai wanted to meet one of the Goswamis, I think Rupa Goswami, in Vrindavan. And the Goswamiji sent word that he doesn't normally meet women. Mirabai sent a word back. I thought Sri Krishna is the only Purusha in Vrindavan. Now I see there is one more Purusha in the form of this Goswamiji. Immediately the Goswami realized the greatness of this lady, ran and fell at her feet. That means the Lord is the only Purusha and all of us are parts of Prakriti. The Prakriti Purusha Leela is what is called the Rasa Leela, Rasa Krida. So many themes are given. Gopi Vallabha Krishna. Then you have the Kurukshetra Krishna, Gita Acharya. Simhanadam Jagarja. Geetam Shantam Madhuramapiyas Simhanadam Jagarja. He is blowing his conch, Panchajanya, and then declaring war. And such powerful message of the Gita to elevate the soul of Arjuna, who is a representative of the entire humanity. Arjuna represents all of us. He gives such an extraordinarily elevating message for humanity in the form of the Bhagavad Gita, which is an extraordinarily universal text with a supreme harmonious blend of jnana, knowledge, bhakti, devotion, karma, action, and yoga, meditation. So you think of Gita Acharya Krishna. Then you can think of Mathuradhisha. He goes to Mathura, becomes a king there. You talk about Balagopala, you can think of Gopi Vallabha Krishna, you can think of Gita Acharya Krishna, you can think of Mathuradhisha Krishna. Krishna in any form. The touching incident when he meets his old classmate, friend Sudama, Kuchela. So poor, so shy to meet his old friend, and how he took him and put him in his own simhasana and told Rukmani, fan him. And the king, Mathuradhisha Krishna, with his spouse Rukmani, fanning this old man, completely bare-bodied, without any clothes to wear, so poor, so dirty, coming barefoot. Think of that simplicity, think of that humility, think of that nobility, think of that friendship. Or you think of Rajasuya Yaga, the great yaga performed by Yudhishthira, and what was the role which he himself assumed? washing the feet of the guests who came. Sri Krishna's personality is so charming, so powerful, and simple like a child. The only match we can find in the modern times in the Ramakrishna Parimandala is that of Swami Vivekananda. Many Swamis have told me that Sri Krishna's personality very much resembles Swami Vivekananda's personality. So charming, even physical appearance. So charming is a cynosure of all eyes. Netra lobha, this phrase used by Swami Ramakrishna in the poem. Netra lobha. You feel so much deluded, lobha. You are so greedy to look at him again and again and again and again. And the Gopika Geetam says, looking at Sri Krishna coming back after the tending the cows, you look at his divine form and so charming, so resplendent, so beautiful, so handsome, with a divine effulgence. The Gopi says, this Brahma must have been a stupid fellow. Why did he create these eyelids? We want to constantly, animesha nayana it is called, animesha. Without a winking, without a wink, I want to look at him constantly, continuously. But this winking of the eye creates a disturbance for a microsecond. Why did this Brahma create the eyelids? That is the kind of devotion they showed there. So charming. And even Swami Vivekananda, think of him as a young child playing pranks, so many kinds of things. Then he grows and then goes to Sri Ramakrishna. Narayan is singing, Narayan is playing, and meditating, entering into samadhi, so many different kinds of experiences, sakara, nirakara. Then he moves around all over India for 6 years as a parivrajaka. Then he is shunted abroad, he goes abroad. Chicago Parliament of Religion. Think of Swamiji in Chicago. Think of Swamiji as a parivrajaka. Think of Narayan as a little boy being groomed by Sri Ramakrishna. Then the great preacher Vivekananda, the thundering monk, the cyclonic monk, then coming back, establishing the Ramakrishna mission. In how many different ways he can be portrayed and thought of, just like Sri Krishna. So here is a scene by meditating on which we can elevate ourselves and get liberated. Remember and believe, every one of these themes of the Avatara, which has been created by the divine on purpose in order to liberate mankind, any one of these hundreds of thousands of themes can lead you to liberation, provided you to meditate on that deeply, absorbedly, with great shraddha and devotion. So here is a scene. Let us meditate on this. What is the scene? Sri Ramakrishna sthir huiya dadaya ruilen. Sri Ramakrishna standing still, completely absorbed in samadhi and oblivious of the entire outer world, including his own body. Narendra gan korite chen, dui charajan bhakta dadai achen. Naren is singing with the tanpura, perhaps. Master Arshya gan shuite chen. The master came and was listening to the song. Gan shune akrushta huya ruhilen. He was so charmed and attracted by the song, he simply sat there. Thakurer gan chhada, emon madhur gan tini kokhono kothao shonen nai. He has not heard, listened such an extraordinarily elevating song anywhere else except in the lips of Sri Ramakrishna. हठात ठाकुर के दृष्टिपात करिए अवाक हुआ रविलेन. Then suddenly his eyes fell on Ramakrishna's form. What is he saying? Listen to this description, meditate on this. Thakur daraiya nispando, chakkhur pata pudite che naam, nishwas prashwas bohite che ki না বইছে। জিজ্ঞাসা করিতে একজন ভক্ত বলিলেন এর নাম সমাধি। First time he is seeing Ramakrishna in this condition. Suddenly his eyes fell and Ramakrishna said, what is this? Dumbfounded, flabbergasted. He is seeing Sri Ramakrishna. What is the description? Thakur Dadaiya Nishpando. He is standing still, completely motionless. Chokkhur pata puditeche na, nishwas prashwas boiteche ki na boiche. His eyes are not winking, and exhalation and inhalation, his breathing, perhaps he says, is completely stopped. We can't see that the movement of lungs is taking place, and he was terribly amazed. What kind of state is this? No motion, no movement at all, eyes are not winking or blinking, breath has stopped totally. What kind of state is this? And his face is full of divine joy. You can see Sri Ramakrishna's picture standing in Samadhi. Then he asked somebody, what is this? Jigyasa korate, when he inquired, একজন ভক্ত বলিলেন এর নাম সমাধি। This is called Samadhi. মাস্টার এইরূপ কখনো দেখেন নাই, শুনেন নাই। Master has never seen such a scene of a person in Samadhi, never even heard of a person who can be in the state of Samadhi. অবাক হইয়া তিনি ভাবিতেছেন, ভগবানকে চিন্তা করিয়া মানুষ কি এত বাহ্য শূন্য হয়? He was simply wonderstruck and amazed, and he thought to himself, is it possible for a person to be so completely absorbed in God, thinking of Him and contemplating the Supreme Being, that he completely loses outer consciousness? Is it possible? Is such a state ever possible by man? না জানি কতদূর বিশ্বাস ভক্তি থাকলে এরূপ হয়। Who knows how much of deep devotion and faith in God should have been there for this person to be so completely absorbed that he has completely forgotten his body, his mind, his senses. Even breathing is totally abandoned. How is it possible? Meditate on this scene. This one scene. He got liberated. See, mind is restless. Mind is constantly moving. Yoga says chitta vritti nirodha. Stop this mind, vritti. Control the mind. Fix it on God. Oh, it is impossible, sir, Swami. It is not possible. My mind is so restless. Bhagavan, Sri Ramakrishna, the compassionate Avatara, comes and tells you, no, don't worry, my child. You don't have to concentrate on me. Your mind is restless, mind is moving. I will move with the mind. Take this idea very carefully. What Ramakrishna tells you. You hold the mind in one position and fix it on me. Mayyeva mana adhatsva, mayi buddhim niveshaya. There's one path, the yogic path. The Avatara, out of compassion in the path of bhakti, he says, allow your mind to go where it likes, but you allow me to go with the mind. The Lord doesn't leave you. Your mind is moving away, the Lord is constantly chasing you. This is called the practice of the presence of God. Wherever you are, whatever you do, whatever be the thought that you have, in whatever condition, God is there with you constantly in your presence, blessing you, giving you His divine darshan. And he has created a name which is called the mantra, by which you can call him anytime, anywhere. And what are the names? Infinite varieties of names. Rama, Krishna, Ramakrishna, Kali, Durga in Hinduism, then Jesus, then Allah, so many different kinds of names. Even the Islam says there are 99 names of Allah. So infinite names have been created. Nam namakari bahudha nija sarva shaktis tatrarpita niyamita smaranena kala etadrishi tava kripa bhagavan mamapi durdaivam idrishamihha janinanuraga. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shikshashtakam. Namna Makari Bahudha, O Lord, you created so many different names. Tatrarpita, Nija Shakti, your own power, you poured into each one of these names, and there is no restriction as to when and where these names should be chanted and repeated. Such is your divine mercy, O Lord, and such is my misfortune that I do not have anuraga, devotion for your name. These are wonderful prayers by this great man, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Shikshashtakam. So the Lord is chasing you all the time. You can't escape him. You say, oh Lord, now I want to watch a movie. India-Pakistan match is going on. Everybody is running. So much of excitement. The Lord says, no, I don't stop you. I don't say, no, don't watch the match. Close your eyes and meditate on me. I say, come on, go and do. But I will also be there with you. Will you allow me also to be with you? Oh, of course, Lord, please come. Which means you are constantly, continuously, inescapably living in the divine presence of the Supreme Being, the Avatara. Practice of the presence of God, as Brother Lawrence wrote a small, beautiful book from his letters. Constantly practice his presence. This is called the Leela Chintana. Divine Leela, sport of God as the Avatara, Chintana, meditating, contemplating. So the Gospel of Ramakrishna, like the Bhagavata and the Mahabharata and the Ramayana, this is a book which gives you a great occasion for Leela Chintana, contemplating the divine sport of God. Keep the Lord with you all the time. You don't leave me. Then you can't do anything wrong. You can't think any low thoughts because Lord is there watching you all the time. Lord says, no, you think bad thoughts, I don't mind, but I'll be with you all the time. That's the secret. Keep the Lord with you. My mind is restless, O Lord. My mind is running here and there. The Lord says, now is the age of video. Don't worry about still picture. Don't worry about your mind being concentrated on my still picture. I am also a moving entity. So let us have a video together. You keep moving, I will also move with you. So wherever the mind is running and restlessly moving around, the Lord is also constantly with it and chasing. This is a wonderful, simple, easy, sweet kind of sadhana. Keep the Lord with you all the time. So Kunti Devi says, the purpose of the Avatara is to create hundreds of thousands of themes for meditation and contemplation by contemplating any one of which a human being, a jiva, gets liberated. That is the purpose of his coming. So this is a theme which we now have. I read it again. Thakur dadaya nispando, chokkhur pata pudite chena, nishwas prashwas, boiche ki na boiche. He is standing still, completely motionless. His eyes are not winking, and breathing is almost completely stopped. So he asked some people, and one of the devotees said this is called samadhi. Completely baffled, flabbergasted, M tells himself, thought to himself, how much of absorption a person should be having to be able to completely forget his own body, which is so dear to us, and the entire external world, so that his heart, lungs, breathing, winking of the eye, everything is completely stopped. What was the song which Narendra was singing is mentioned here. Chintaya mama manaso hari chidghana niranjana kiba anupama bhati mohana murati bhakata hridaya ranjana navarage ranjita koti shashi binindita kiba vijali chamake sherupa aloke pulake shihare jivana. It's a beautiful song. These are all very common songs that Narendra used to sing under the influence of the Brahma Samaj. Chintaya mama manasa hari chidghana niranjana kibanupama bhati mohana murati bhakata hridaya ranjana navarage ranjita koti shashi vinindita kiba bijali chamake shirupa aloke pulake shihare jivana chintaya mama manaso hari chidghana niranjana chidghana niranjana. In English, chintaya mama manasa, my mind, chintaya, contemplate, meditate, think. What? Hari Chidghana Niranjana. Think of the Lord Hari, Sri Krishna, Vishnu, Narayana, the Supreme Being. What kind of being? Chidghana Niranjana. Swami was very much influenced by these songs. When he wrote the Aratrika hymn, you can see he has borrowed many of these phrases. Chidghana Kaya, Niranjana Nara Rupadhara. Niranjana, blemishless, completely beyond all name and form, absolute. Chidghana, condensed consciousness, as if he is consciousness, Chaitanya, solidified, condensed. Anupama bhati. Bhati is divine effulgence, not the ordinary kind of light which we talk about or think. Surya Jyoti is what we normally see, the sunlight. Then you have the Chandra Jyoti, the moonlight. Agni Jyoti, the light of fire. Then the stars. All of them pale into insignificance before the Chaitanya Jyoti, which is Anupama Bhati. Anupama, unparalleled, without any comparison, incomparable. Na tatra suryo bhati na chandra tarakam nema vidyuto bhanti kuto yamagni tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. Kathopanishad is also there in the Mundakopanishad. There the sun shines not, nor the moon, nor the stars. And what to speak of this light, of this fire? He is shining, everything shines. Tameva bhantam anubhati sarvam. Tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati. By his divine effulgence, all the sun and the moon and the stars and the Agni, the entire world is being illuminated. That is the divine light of consciousness. Anupama bhati, unparalleled, incomparable divine effulgence. Mohana murati. Mohana, so attractive, so charming. His form simply draws your mind. So he is called Krishna. Krish means to attract, to draw. The moment you look at him, your entire mind is drawn to him spontaneously. You can't take your eyes away. His form is so charming, so elevating, so pure, so wonderfully luminous. Mohana Murati, Bhakata Hridaya Ranjana. Ranjana means giving delight. Ranjadhatu means delighting, to color, to paint. So he gives you so much of delight and joy. The moment you look at him, your heart is filled with joy. Bhakata Hridaya, the hearts of all the devotees are filled with so much of joy. Navarage Ranjita, Navaraga, new devotion. Raga, once again Ranjidhatu Ghai Pratyaya, attraction. Anuraga is attraction. You're so deeply getting attached to him. Not the ordinary kind of attachment, the divine attraction which the Supreme Being has for the jivas. Sri Ramakrishna says in the Gospel of Ramakrishna, the Kathamrita, the Lord is a huge magnet and he is attracting all the small iron filings which we are. He also says later on, the devotee becomes the magnet and draws God himself. That's why the Avatarana comes down. Navarage Ranjita, fully colored and enveloped by new devotion. Koti Shashi Vinandita, Vinindita. Nindita, that which is despicable, that which is rejected. Even Koti Shashi, millions and billions of moons, so moonlight is so soothing. Millions of moons, if they rise at the same time in the sky, the light is so soothing and so cool and so resplendent. Even that is put to shame by the divine light of the Lord. 1,000 suns are mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Yadi surya sahasrasya bhavet yugabadutthita. If 1,000 suns simultaneously rise in the sky, even that cannot match the powerful effulgence of the Vishwarupa of the Lord. Here it is Koti Shashi because it's devotion. Jnana is sunlight, scorching, powerful, white light, and the yellow light, moonlight, cool, soothing, elevating, charming. Koti Shashi, even millions of moons, if they rise simultaneously, the combined light of million moons also is no match for the divine effulgence of the Lord. Bijali chamake, herupa aloke. Then just like the light of lightning, if you have watched very carefully, is a very different kind of light than the ordinary light of the sun or the moon. Suddenly there is a lightning, which is called Vidyut, visually, that has a slight pinkish color. Not purely white, but the peculiar kind of white which is not the ordinary white. Suddenly you get a flash of light. Like a bijli chamoke, suddenly look at the Lord, so charming. Suddenly it's such a light of lightning splashing. Sherupa aloke, light which is similar to the light of lightning. Pulake shihare jivan. So how much of devotion should have been there? The original Bengali song is so beautifully worded. Pulake, there's horripilation. Your hairs are standing an end. When you have so much of joy, your hair stands an end. It's called horripilation all over the body. Jivan shihare. Shihare is also very expressive Bengali word coming from Sanskrit, of course. Shiharana. Shiharana means there is a shriveling of the body. You shake because of horripilation and joy. The whole body is shivering, as it were, out of joy, not out of fear, out of joy. Shihare, shivering perhaps comes from shihare, who knows, jivana. Think of this song, meditate on this, sing this, and simultaneously contemplate Narayan singing, absorbed in this song, and Sri Ramakrishna standing in front, absorbed in samadhi. This is the scene for today for contemplation. By deeply thinking and contemplating, you can also get into the divine ecstatic mood. Chintaya mama manasa hari chidghana niranjana kibanupama bhati mohana murati bhakata hridaya ranjana Navarage ranjita koti shashi vinindita kiba bijoli chamoke sherupa aloke pulake shihare jivana chintaya mama manasa hari chidkhanani Ranjana. Have a few moments of silence. Sing this song mentally. Narayan is singing this song. Such sweetness, such elevation, pouring his heart in devotion, as it were. Sri Ramakrishna standing in front, absorbed in samadhi, eyes don't wink, breathing is almost stopped, the body is totally motionless. Meditate on this. What a great video picture M has given us in the Kathamrita. Ganer ei charanti gaiba spamoy, Thakur Sri Ramakrishna shiharite lagilen. Pulake shihare jivana. When this line was being sung, Sri Ramakrishna was actually shivering out of infinite joy, absorbed in God. All the hairs are standing on end. Deho romanchito. Romancha, horripilation. Hairs are standing on end. Chokho hoite anandashru vigalita hoite. And tears are flowing down his cheeks. Nayanam galadashru dharaya vadanam gadgadarudhaya gira pulakair nishitam vapuh kada tava namagrahane bhavishyati. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Shikshashtaka, oh Lord, when will that blessed day come to me? When tears will flow down my cheek when I take your name, and my speech will be completely choked. I cannot speak because of excessive joy. and my entire body will be shivering with horripilation, romancha, hair standing on it. When will that day come when I take your name? All the signs will be manifest. Nisidin barasat nain hamare. Surdas, he says, the gopis are singing. From the day Sri Krishna left us for Mathura, tears are constantly flowing down our cheeks. Nishidin barasat naina hamare. We can't control our emotions. Constantly contemplating Sri Krishna, meditating on Him, thinking of Him, loving Him, pouring our heart out. Tears are constantly flowing. This is not the tear of sorrow. Sri Ramakrishna used to make a difference between the tear of sorrow and the tear of joy. He used to say, Ananda Ashru, the tear of joy comes from the other side, this side of the eye. Whereas the Dukkha Ashru comes from the nose side. That's why in some languages there is a proverb, why are you crying through the nose? Muka ladaraya, in Tamil they say. That means crying through the nose means you are crying it is not the Ananda Ashru, it is the Dukkha Ashru. Ananda Ashru boiteche. মাঝে মাঝে জানো কি দেখিয়া হাসিতেছেন. Now and then the divine smile which is playing on his lips. Those of you have carefully studied and seen and meditated upon the form of Sri Ramakrishna in Samadhi with his hands raised, you can see, watch the face and the divine smile which is constantly playing on his lips. Any picture of Ramakrishna, if you say, the divine smile, that is the beauty of Krishna and Ramakrishna. Prahasanniva Bharata. When the Kurukshetra war is just about to begin, what is Sri Krishna saying? He is telling something to Arjuna and smiling. Prahasanniva. That the beautiful smile playing on the lips of Sri Krishna and Sri Ramakrishna, that is the charm. He is seeing something, that means he is seeing the divine form of the Lord. Majhe majhe jnano ki dekhiya hasitechen. As if he is seeing something within and smiling. Na jane koti shashi binindito ki anupama rupa darshan koritechen. M says, who knows, he is having a darshana, a vision of the divine form, unmatched beauty, unparalleled divine form, which puts to shame a million suns, koti vinindita. Eri naam ki bhagavaner chinmaya rupa darshan. Is this called the vision of the divine form of God, which is of the form of pure consciousness, Chid Khana and Chinmaya. Koto sadhan korile, koto tapasya phole, koto khani bhakti vishwasher bole, erup Ishwar darshan hoy. M does not know. He thinks an ordinary jiva. Through powerful sadhana he has attained it. Remember, Sri Ramakrishna did not attain all this through sadhana. These realizations came to him spontaneously, naturally, from childhood, and he performed sadhana later on for the good of the world. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, usually there is a fruit which comes after a flower, but in certain cases, like in the case of pumpkin, he says, first there is a fruit, then the flower comes. Pratame phal, tarpare phool. So in the case of Avatara, first the realization, the supreme state of darshana, the vision of God first comes, later the sadhana follows. How much of tapasya, how much of sadhana, and how much of devotion and faith a person should have to have this kind of vision of God. Gabar gan choliteche, the song is going on. Hridi kamala sone ভজতার চরণ দেখো শান্ত মনে প্রেম নয়নে অপরূপ প্রিয় দর্শন চিন্তয় মম মানস হরি চিদ্ঘন নিরঞ্জন হৃদি কমলাসনে. Kamala is a lotus flower. Lotus is considered very sacred, very pure, very elevating. In the asana, in that seat of the lotus, in the Hridaya, heart is considered the lotus. There, called Bhajatar Charan, there he is sitting. There you meditate in his holy feet. Dakho Shanta Mone Prema Noyane. Then look at him with unwinking eyes, animation ayane, and with the mind absolutely calm. Prashanta manasam henam yoginam sukhamuttamam upayiti shantarajasam brahmabhutamakalmasham shantamane. The mind is absolutely calm. You meditate upon him. Aparupa priya darshana. Aparupa, extraordinarily charming and beautiful, unmatched beauty, darshana, vision. Avar Shri Bhuvana Mohan Hasho. Listening to these lines again, he is a divine smile playing of his lips, and Master Moshe M gives a beautiful adjective, Bhuvana Mohana Hasho. Bhuvana Mohana, in charming. The whole world is getting charmed by his extraordinarily beautiful smile. Sharir Shairub Nishpando. The entire body is completely motionless. Stimita Lochana. The eye, stimita, still, no movement at all, motionless. Kintu কি যেন অপরূপ রূপ দর্শন করিতেছেন. But he is having a vision of some extraordinarily beautiful, charming form of the Divine Lord. আর সেই অপরূপ রূপ দর্শন করিয়া যেন মহানন্দে ভাসিতেছেন. ভাসিতেছেন as if it's swimming. Mahanande in extraordinary joy. So, having had this charming vision, so powerful, so elevating, so pure, Chidghana, embodiment of consciousness, and he is floating in the ocean of divine bliss. এইবার গান শেষ হইল. নরেন্দ্র গাইলেন, চিদানন্দ রসে ভক্তি যোগাবেশে হাওরে চিরমগন. চিদানন্দ রসে হায়রে প্রেমানন্দ রসে. চিদানন্দ রসে ভক্তি যোগাবেশে হাওরে চিরমগন. Chidananda Rasa. Rasa is the sweet nectar, the liquor. What is that? Supremely immortal joy, Amrita, the nectar of Chidananda. Chit is consciousness, Ananda is joy. Sat Chit Ananda Swarupa. So in that, Bhakti Yoga Veshe. How do you reach there and move there? How do you float in that ocean of bliss? By Bhakti Yoga. By connecting yourself with the Lord through devotion of Bhakti, Haure Chira Magana. Go and immerse in that totally and become purified through that immersion. সমাধির ও প্রেমানন্দের এই অদ্ভুত ছবি হৃদয় মধ্যে গ্রহণ করিয়া মাস্টার গৃহে প্রত্যাবর্তন করিতে লাগিলেন. So M is coming back after this incident. And what is he carrying? So let us also carry this with us. M is carrying in his heart সমাধির প্রেমানন্দের অদ্ভুত ছবি হৃদয় মধ্যে গ্রহণ করিয়া. Carrying this divine vision which he saw just now in his heart. What is the picture? সমাধির আর প্রেমানন্দের অদ্ভুত ছবি. The picture of samadhi, absorption in God totally, being oblivious of his own body and the outer world, and premananda, divine ecstatic love and joy. Carrying this in his heart, M is slowly walking back to his home. মাঝে মাঝে হৃদয় মধ্যে সেই হৃদয়োন্মত্তকারী মধুর সঙ্গীতের ফুট উঠিতে লাগিল. As he walking along, in his heart, this line is again and again and again. He is humming, is rising, resonating in his heart. What is that? Premananda rashe haure chira magana hari preme matta hoye. Hari preme, the ecstatic devotion for Hari, for the Supreme Lord, matta hoye, being intoxicated by that divine love, chira magana, eternally get absorbed, float, get immersed deep into this ocean of Premananda Rasa, the divine elixir of divine love, Prema, and Ananda, joy. Hridaya unmattakari madhur sangit. Hridaya unmattakari, the mind, the heart is becoming intoxicated. Just like you are addicted. If you get addicted, the whole heart is so full of that addiction. As if you become completely forgetful of the external world. So similarity to alcohol is mentioned just to show what it could be. So that ordinary people will not understand. Unmatta, as you become mad with divine love. Dema pagol kore brahmamoyi. Dema pagol kore brahmamoyi. Dema pagol kore. Ramakrishna is very fond of this song. Make me mad with divine love. What need ever do I have for reason and for knowledge and for argument? আর কাজে নাই মা জ্ঞান বিচারে দে মা পাগল করে. I don't have any need at all for knowledge and vichara, argument and discussion. Make me mad with divine love. So carrying this picture in his heart, M is slowly walking back home. Let us also close this by carrying in our hearts the divine picture of Premonmattata, divine intoxication of God's love, and Chidananda Rasa, the consciousness and bliss. In that ocean let us float, and carrying this picture of Sri Ramakrishna standing in ecstasy, tears flowing down his eyes, and his entire body, the hairs standing and horripilation, and a divine smile lighting his body, lips, and the entire face bright with divine effulgence, and Narendra singing this song with a deep absorption. This is the scene for contemplation of all of us today. Contemplate, think of this, meditate on this, and you will feel divinely elevated. This is the purpose of the coming of the incarnation, Dharma Samsthapana, to restore in man's heart that divine faith and the conviction that the supreme divinity can be realized in our own hearts through intensest love and attraction for Him, to the exclusion of everything worldly. May Sri Ramakrishna give us the courage and the power and the absorption to be able to realize this in our hearts. Om Niranjanam Nityamanantarupam Bhaktanukampadhrita Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidhyam Tam Ramakrishnam Shirasa Namamaha. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.